Sonic 06. What an infamous name. Not only in the Sonic community, but in the entirety of the gaming industry. As I'm sure all of you know, this was one of the absolute biggest fails in gaming history. But instead of making yet another video about Sonic 06, because I'm about 18 years late to this game reviewing, I decided to do something different. Today, I'm going over Project 06, and looking at this game through a lens of never playing this game before. And again, as I'm sure you know, Project 06 is a fan remake of the classic failure. Not reimagining, remaster, not a mod, not a ROM hack, nothing like that. A complete remake built from the ground up. The main creator of this is a fan named Chaos X. They started this version because at the time he didn't have a console to even play the game. And despite hearing all the bad reviews, he still thought it looked fun. So, the only logical thing to do is, obviously, remake the entire game from the ground up. That, I can only imagine, is gonna take probably closer to tens of thousands of hours. But I guess this man has a, in real life, infinite time cheat code, because he got some time on his hands. I'm just gonna go over a brief and fast history of the game as well as the story. So why was the original 06 so bad? Well, it boiled down to really 4 things. Poor optimization, bugs, bad story, and poor handling. So, Sonic 06 was the first Sonic game on HD consoles, meaning the PS3 and Xbox 360. Team Sonic was coming off a flop and being Shadow the Hedgehog, but overall, that era of Sonic was critically well received. So the next technological leap was surely an important one, and additionally, its portable titles were also doing well. The Advanced Trilogy is nearly universally well liked, and Sonic Rush was also praised by fans. So at that time, Sonic Next Gen was possibly gonna make or break the franchise, because they couldn't bank on their own console equating to their Sonic games selling. Now, it was only on other consoles, especially now because a large audience they just got from the previous generation couldn't play this game. Because Nintendo, rather than competing for the strongest console, decided to make a left turn and make the Wii. Which was actually really smart for Nintendo, but that meant that new Nintendo audience they just gained now couldn't play the new and expensive title. Thus, they made a team to make a Wii port for the game that later turned into Secret Rings, which was actually really stupid at the end of the day due to development issues, because the team needed more workers on 06. And why did they need more game devs? Well, it's because 06 was a buggy mess. It was just awful, I've been told, because of the first reason, the glitches. The game looks like a buggy mess. Again, I haven't played the original game, but this shit packed full of bugs and glitches, and also loading screens. The loading screens are atrocious, and also they appear every 2 seconds. But again, I'm sure all of you know this, so let's just go over the story, just real quick. Being quote-unquote inspired by Dragon Ball, assuming 24/7, we begin in the future with Trunks. Silver, and Blaze, who originates from the aforementioned Sonic Rush. Anyway, this dude shows up and tells them that Sonic is the Iblis Trigger, which means he is the one who sparks the flame that corrupts Silver's world, destroying it. Actually, this, I'm gonna do a real brief cover. Eggman wants his princess, Sonic saves that princess. That happens a few times, they go back in time a few times, and it turns out that this guy is actually Shadow's Shadow, and is the other half of the princess's god, and plotted for the fire Iblis to be released so that he can merge with it. Then, he kills Sonic, Human kisses Sonic, by the way, ew, and then the Hedgehogs go super and win. Cool. But before we go into each gameplay style, I want to talk about the non-gameplay of Project 06, such as the visuals. This game is fucking beautiful, man. Although I don't know about the lengthy and skinny designs of Sonic and Shadow, but overall, that's not Chaos X's fault. He just reused the models. Also, this is just a tiny detail, but I love the fact that the spikes on the characters move while landing and turning. And also the VFX and cutscenes, at least the ones that were here, were really beautiful. And dude, these environments are just gorgeous. They're just so great looking. And also the music here is too nice sometimes. Wave Ocean just being so great. But anyway, that's just a quick synopsis of the game. So let's go over what was my favorite story, Sonic. Alright, this is gonna be the best controlling Sonic ever. In Project 06, there is a homing attack. And may I add, the range on this thing is spectacular. And also you can change the arc of it, giving it more individuality, which is again, great. You know what else is returning? The Spin Dash. It's not quite as fantastic in Adventure 1, but better than Adventure 2. But again, you know what else is back? The Lightspeed Dash and also the Bounce Bracelet. And when I tell you the Bounce Bracelet is my favorite thing in this game, I am not lying. It goes really high up and the sound it makes, mwah, It just keeps this really consistent flow of speed and action, and really all you want in the Sonic game. And for that reason, Sonic is my favorite. But another layer to his gameplay is this sliding attack. Well, at lower speeds he does this low kick, but at top speeds he does this Mega Man slide, which is pretty finicky. I would have just preferred if the attack was just one tap, while the slide was just a double tap. And also, I can't describe how long the slide lasts. It does go away when the speed lowers or if you let go of the button. But if you hold down the button as long as you can, it just stops for no real reason. But that's a tiny issue for a tiny ability. But some new abilities Sonic now has are the gems. Before Superstars, there was 06 with each gem having a certain ability. You find these throughout the levels, with there being 7 gems. I never really get used to these because they're pretty situational, if not whack. The notable ones are the purple one, which gives you a few extra jumps, and another one which is just the Ender Pearl from Minecraft, which teleports you to wherever you throw it. I just found Sonic himself to just be so great down to the turning, jumping, spinning, attacking. All of it takes a lot of time to perfectly master, and I don't have the time to master the game. But one issue I have with Sonic is weirdly the boarding sections. I just couldn't properly get the hang of it. Most likely just a me thing, but even in Shadow's parts, I couldn't handle those vehicles properly there either. But with that out of the way, I cannot express the pure joy of Sonic's gameplay movement wise. It's pure bliss. Towards the end of the game, I was getting the hang of it so well. But this brings up the other playable characters. With this again being basically Adventure 3, each story has multiple playable characters. Here we have the Sonic Heroes. And let me tell you, this is the best Tails has ever been. I have 2 issues with it though. For one, the new inclusion, the ring bombs, are very handy, but my problem is that throwing it while on the ground stops your momentum, which is counterproductive to, the whole speed part of Sonic games. But another issue is really just a change rather than an issue. This Tails is much more gradual than the jagged controls of Adventure 1. But here the dead zone is so close to the water level where sometimes I just got hit and couldn't rise fast enough to not die in the abyss. Again, these are just smaller problems when this is really just a perfect way to control Tails. And Knuckles is alright. I would have preferred he felt bigger, but I mean he does feel strong, especially with the VFX. They brought back his dive from SA2 and his combo from Heroes. But I felt like there was a lack of solidity when playing as him. Like the sound effect for flying and grappling didn't feel solid. This game is so good that I have to nitpick this game for issues compared to what would have happened. But also, once you have to play as Silver, which I found strange because there's a devoted Silver part in this game, it's just like the 2.5D areas in Sonic Generations. It's just a waste of time. And finally, the Elise levels. Now, when you have the princess in your arms, you are limited, but not by too much. Yes, it does take away from the fabulous bounce bracelet, but you can still homing attack and lightspeed dash, which isn't the biggest hurdle. Now. I've been told the best thing of 06 was the levels, and were they right? Fuck yeah! The level design has been near untouched. Yeah, some of them are homages to the previous, Wave Ocean to Emerald Coast, Flame Core to Lava Reef, Tropical Jungle to Frog Forest, but that doesn't matter because the level design is so fresh, and literally the amount of routes in these stages were overwhelming. If you guys watch me play this live, there were times where we were saying,
"What the fuck? Dude. What?"
It's absurd. My least favorite personally was White Acropolis or maybe Dusty Desert. But man oh man, everything else was sublime. Wave Ocean, Crisis City, Flame Core, Tropical Jungle, and especially Kingdom Alley and also Aquatic Base. Every single one I just named was better than everything Heroes and Shadow had to offer. They were all better than Final Chase, and personally, I prefer them over about half of Adventure 1's levels. But I mean, I just cannot describe these levels. They are just that open, that free, that much fun, and that speedy. And one last final thing are the Mach Speed sections. Now, I was expecting a buggy mess because so many people talk shit about these, but honestly, they were really enjoyable. They only happened on a few levels, but I mean, the collision detection was a bit wonky sometimes, and maybe the turning could be improved, but overall, I found them really fun and a real test of my reactions. But without just repeating the same jargon I've been saying, let's go over Shadow's story. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie at all, I was kind of sad with Shadow. I thought he was going to be far and beyond better than Sonic because, he's just far cooler, but I just didn't like him as often. Chaos Spear was a really cool inclusion, but you can't do it endlessly like you can with the bounce bracelet. It gives him a bit of a double jump and resets his homing attack, but man, I just swear it gets rid of so much more flow. The Chaos Spear only does damage if you charge it, It just doesn't feel as useful as the bracelet. And also with enemies returning with health bars, Shadow can extend his homing attack into multiple attacks. Problem is that once the health bar is depleted, press jump again, he does a homing attack. Meaning that if you attack an enemy by the edge and press jump one too many times, I kept flying off the map and dying, which was very annoying. Sometimes I could save myself using Chaos Spear, but one other thing that Shadow does far better is the special ability. Now Shadow can transform into something, I don't really know. Looks like it's false Super Saiyan to me. But here your homing attack is instant, and you can do the returning Chaos Blast. And that's really it. I mean, Lightspeed Dash feels like it doesn't work as consistently as it does with Sonic. I had a viewer tell me that the ring strings are more Lightspeed able in Sonic's story than they are in Shadow's, but it just felt way more inconsistent. Also, Chaos Blast and Lightspeed Dash aren't the only returning things from previous games. The rides from Shadow the Hedgehog are also back, and they're pretty much meh. I absolutely hated the hover ride, and paragliding was just super boring. They both handle like garbage, especially the Land Rover. But in the grand scheme, the vehicles aren't really that bad. They are just a very small portion of his playthrough. But also where the levels start and end have been altered. And again, I don't really like this. Kingdom Valley got a huge downgrade. Dusty Desert's beginning is super boring because you gotta follow these totems with the hover bike. These are issues with the base game and not Project 06. But again, it did put a damper into my enjoyment just a bit. It's still the same super enjoyable gameplay that Sonic had. I just feel it was lessened because of the focus on combat, where I didn't prefer. Now, Shadow's other characters are also his team in Heroes. And Rouge is my least favorite character to play in the entire game due to her being Knuckles with the Tails ring bomb problem. But Omega? Dude, Omega. I unironically prefer Omega to Shadow. And he has an FPS mode that is dope. A hover ability and lock-on shot like his brethren Gamma. And also his best attack from Heroes Return, the air shot, which annihilates enemies, and his combo also returns from Heroes. But because of his part, let us briefly talk about the ranks. Now, I've been told that you get an S rank in every level if you get 60,000 points or more. And if you get an S in every level for each character, you can unlock their unlockable ability. With Sonic, you get Super Sonic after collecting all the gems and S ranks, which is the first time I think you have a playable 3D Super Sonic not in the final boss, which is really neat. Then for Shadow, you can remove his power inhibitors that do something, I don't really know, maybe unlimited Chaos Blast and invincibility. And then Silver has this upgrade which gives him this huge AoE like suck in blast attack. I don't really know exactly what it does. But yeah, that's it. Let's end this video with Silver's campaign. Now, I'm going to come out and say this right now. Silver was my least favorite of the main trio. If you played this game in the order of Sonic first, then Shadow, and finally Silver, then that means you've already tasted what he plays like in those stories. Silver is a sidekick with levitation powers, meaning that he can stun, pick up, and launch enemies. And you manage his power using the AP gauge. It goes down while using his abilities, and if you've noticed, each hedgehog has an emphasis on a certain pillar of gameplay. Sonic is focused on speed, Shadow on combat, and now Silver on platforming. But don't get it wrong, Silver has a lot of combat within the story, and that's my largest issue. Silver's fighting abilities just seem so boring to me. Silver is able to pick up objects around him and launch them, but he also has ways to stun enemies and also pick them up, and that's really it. He can stun by sending out an energy blast or by doing a ground slam, which has an AoE effect. And yeah, he's able to activate relics on the ground as if it's the DMC reboot, but really I found nothing fun about this gameplay, outside of the hover, which is really neat. It's not bad, but rather just meh, in my opinion. You'd think his gameplay would be super complex, but to my knowledge, it's pretty simple. Maybe I'm missing something, and if so, let me know down below. But Silver's story has two other playable characters, just like the other ones, which are Amy and my second favorite character in this game, Blaze. Amy is back from Adventure 1, better, but missing the hammer bounce while running on the ground. But she can bounce off enemies in the air, and also she controls so beautifully. And she also has the returning swipe attack from Adventure 1, which was previously an upgrade, and now she can move while doing it. But really it doesn't matter because you only play as her once, and it's a really short section. But come on, Blaze? Blaze is fantastic. She has the double jump just like Amy, and also a homing attack which acts like an air dash. She can loop this, giving us basically the same but slightly different flow to Sonic. But again, my biggest issue with Blaze is that there isn't enough of her. I found her far better than Silver. But hey, gameplay is only half of it. Maybe the levels are better. And they are. I found the level design changes to be really good and actually different from Sonic's, With Shadow's altered levels, they oftentimes just put emphasis on his vehicles, which were just boring to play, basically making Kingdom Valley not even a level for him. But Tropical Jungle is a great change, and Aquatic Base is still fun. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the true Sonic 06. Overall, I think this is the greatest Sonic game made yet. I don't really care about the story, but I love the music, presentation, visuals, and redesigns of many of the characters, except Eggman. The environments are really nice and diverse, although Crisis City and Flame Core are a little too similar for me. I will definitely be revisiting this game in the future, definitely up there with the other 2 adventure titles. And with this review commencing, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to vote on my next retrospective under the community tab. Leave your thoughts down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.